Birds are a big deal in our house. We feed them and watch them, and we keep the seed on the porch, but we have to keep a giant rock on top of it because the squirrels come, but not just the birds and the squirrels. We also one day had a bear come. Oh my gosh. It's never come back, but you can see it just tossed that rock right off the can. But this made me think that we should try to cut a bird out of paper. So I found this beautiful magpie and I'm tracing around its body, the biggest shape I'm going to cut first. I'll take some blue and cut it. It looked to me a little bit like a pot that's tilting over, so I cut that shape. And now I'm going to try its head. If I look at its head, you can see it's shaped a little bit like a hillside, so I'm going to cut a hillside, and I now going to cut its little beak, and it's more like a big triangle, and it has a little tiny hook at the end, so I'm going to try to add that later. But I fool around with its placement, seeing where it should be, high or low, and I want to add that beautiful eye. I'm cutting it on a piece of black by spinning the paper, and I trim off that little clip that happens at the end. And now I'm going to look at its wing. You can see it's shaped like a wing, like a gentle triangle that's rounded at the bottom. And I'm going to try it in white because I'll put feathers on top of it, and maybe the white will leave a little outline so that I can do it. And you can see I'm always cutting things too big. So I'm trimming it down so that the wing will fit the body just a little bit better. Trimming that body a little bit too might be a good idea. And I look at the feathers, you can see that they're rounded at the ends. And my habit is to cut a point, so I'll come back later and round them off. And I cut enough feathers to fill up the white. And if I look at the bird picture again, you can see it has this beautiful black feather running down it. I'm going to try to add that too. There. Rearrange those feathers just a little. And there is that white marking that's rather beautiful on the wing of this bird. I'm going to try that too. If I look at the breast of this bird, you can see there's a little rim of white showing where the breast feathers are all white. So I'm going to cut that little shape and slide it in there so we do have that glint of white behind the blue body. Now look at that eye. You can see it has this great white rim around it, and I'm going to take that black dot and glue it to a piece of white paper, excuse me. And then I'm going to cut around it, leaving a little tiny rim of white. And that will help the whole eye stand out, just like it does on that bird. But look at that little glint in its eye. I'm going to add that, and I'm going to cut a tiny piece of white to do it. And whenever you cut something tiny, it's very, very frustrating. But I'll use either tweezers or a toothpick or sometimes even just the tip of my scissors to get it to glue down. And it's always hard to get it to stay, but it does after a little fooling around. So what do you do if you look at this picture and say, I couldn't possibly cut this whole body in one cut? Now it's time to think like a paper cutout artist. You can make it bit by tiny bit and stack them up. Let me show you how I made those feet. I cut the legs first like two straws, and they're different sizes, and then I cut some snake-like shapes and added some hook-like claws to them. Then I cut the tail feathers and I glued them all down until, ladies and gentlemen, we have a bird. So what if you look at this picture and say, I don't feel like blue today. I want to change the colors. Well, you can do that. I'm going to try gluing now, and remember we're always looking to glue the most underneath piece, which in this case was the body, so I glued that first, and now I'm attaching the head and a beak and all the feathers. Now you can see that I'm once again using my magazine so that or catalog or anything that has pages in it, and when I fill one sheet up with glue, I turn to the next. I never did like the beak I'd made, so I made a new beak before I glued it down. And now we have our birds. And I've added them to our sunflowers, and I put them up outside. And look, a squirrel came to admire it.